Hello, this is Mark with the Dark United Front Facebook music fan page. I am on the phone with Dave Gregor of Wisconsin death metal heavyweights, MORTA SKULD. Dave, how's it going, man?
You know what? It's going awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this for us today.
No, man, I'm going to throw it right back to you, man. I appreciate you doing this, man. It means the world to me, so thank you so much.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You appreciate that.
Hey, how is it out there in Wisconsin right now?
Right now, it is pretty crappy.
Yeah.
It's rainy. Also, too, I'll try not to swear. So.
Hey, man, this is an open interview. Let it fly, man.
Okay. So it's okay. Well, it's pretty shitty here.
Okay.
It's just rainy. It's real rainy. It's been raining since last week.
Oh man.
Yeah. I feel like we're trying to become the new Seattle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you got that going on in Wisconsin. Out here in Arizona, we're finally starting to get out of the 110 to 120 degree summer heat. So we're finally getting out of that. So I feel your pain, just on a different plane. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I was only out in Arizona once. I was passing through on my way back from California, and oh my God, yeah, I thought I was going to melt.
Yeah, it's a great cost of living, and it's a great place for 8 months out of the year. But if you need to be outside all day and you don't have water or access to a fan or AC, summers get pretty brutal. That's why I think, during the summertime, a lot of people fly out to your neck of the woods to spend the summers. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. So it does get a little bit cooler then for you guys in like fall and winter?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, Christmas time.
Winter. Do you really have a fall or winter?
It's mostly like springtime most of the year. I've caught myself daydreaming though of some days in the when it goes when we're going through those heat spells. We actually had for us it was a cold wave a few years ago where it was down in the 30s out here. And I've caught myself many times daydreaming of those days because it gets so fucking hot out here. You know what I mean?
Well, then I'm not gonna whine and cry about our hot summer, because for Wisconsin it was pretty. I mean, when I was a kid, real little, it was hot every summer, and obviously as the years have gone by, it's gotten a lot cooler. We've had pretty mild summers, but this summer was pretty. It was pretty intense. It was pretty hot, all summer, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm thinking to myself, I got friends in California, and, some pretty hot climates, and I'm like, I shouldn't even complain, because they're telling me, like, yeah, it's like 95 here, like year round, and
Yeah, man. Well, I'll tell you though. But when it comes wintertime, I think of you guys back on, in the middle part of America and going towards the East Coast, and it's like, yeah, kind of glad I'm not shoveling snow right now.
Yeah, shoveling snow does suck.
Yeah. I got you on that, man. I got you on that. I spent some summers in Michigan, and I think a winter or two, out there when I was younger. But and plus we lived in Virginia in the D.C. area. And shoveling snow and getting stuck on those roads where everything has to be salted down and people's batteries are dying and you're getting stuck in traffic for 3 hours kind of sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I'll go ahead and start. This is actually just directed to you outright. What made you decide that you wanted to pursue a career in music? Any particular band, album, or song that stood out in your mind that helped you make that decision, help make it an easy decision for you?
I love this question. I've never been asked this before, so my hat's off to you.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm going to honestly have to tell you is music, one of the deciding things, and I'm sure you hear that, I don't know, a lot of musicians might say, hey, they come from broken homes or whatever have you. I came from a really bad home.
Okay.
A lot of physical abuse, a lot of mental abuse, verbal abuse. So my upbringing really wasn't very good.
Okay.
It just was not good. And it wasn't just by, like, one person in my family. It was a couple different people. So, it was hard for me as a kid growing up to just really go, most kids grow up. They go to they go to high school. They go, hey, I want to be a, astronaut. And then they go to college. And me, I was just very lost, very misguided. I had to kind of learn. I had to learn as I went. And I had to learn from the life experiences. So, at a very young age, and this is kind of weird. My mom used to, like, around the house, she used to sing. She'd put, you know, her records on, and Barbara Streisand, and, you know, whatever, you know, Supertramp and all these bands.
Oh, yeah.
She'd put these records on, and she would sing. And for some reason, as I started becoming a teen, music really started to kind of start appealing to me. So I started listening to a lot of different soundtracks.
Yeah.
Star Wars, Star Trek, you know, Flash Gordon, all the different soundtracks. Kiss the Elder.
Yeah.
So I started listening to soundtracks, and I was like, this is really fascinating. And I started listening to some, you know, and at the time, I was born in the '60s, so as a kid growing up, early '80s, there was a lot of, you know, Foreigner, Styx, Journey. I mean, all these great bands, and just this music, like, nobody ever wrote a bad song. And I just started really starting to jive with, you know, a lot of different early bands, you know.
Yeah.
I think, like, some of my first, like I said, my first records were soundtracks.
Okay.
But then I started getting into, like, you know, Foreigner 4, bought that on vinyl, you know. Then next thing you know, you're buying
Journey, Escape.
I mean, we were going to the store, and I was starting to look at different bands, like Billy Sheehan's band, Talus.
Oh, yeah.
Just all these weird, like, I can't even think of some of the names that are going through my head right now, but just all these bands, Riot. Not Quiet Riot, but regular Riot.
Oh, yeah, Fire Down Under.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Oh, absolutely. Criminally underrated band.
Oh, geez. So I started discovering these bands, and I'm just like, you know, and like maybe most kids, I would sit in my room and I would just listen and just sing along, and, you know, one day, you know, my grandfather, which is a mean dude, but one day he kind of came across, he's like, you know, he goes, you got a really good voice. And I was like, really? You think? And he's like, yeah. Okay, you know, he goes, you should be a singer, you know. I was like, okay, you know, didn't pay no attention to it. And as I was in high school, I started stumbling onto, you know, Ozzy, Black Sabbath. Yeah. Started really getting into the heavier stuff. Witchfinder General.
Oh, yeah. Huge Witchfinder General fan. Huge.
So all these just heavy hitters, and I'm going, holy crap. I'm like, dude, I mean, I heard Ozzy and Black Sabbath way later than most people.
Yeah.
It hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
It just hit me, and I was like, dude, this music is awesome. And it was weird. Everywhere we went, you know, I was a big partier, and, you know, everywhere we went, we carried this stupid boombox with us. And
Same here.
No lie, and they took the big, you know, and that's funny, because if you go to stores and you try to look for D batteries, they're hard to find. But big, huge honking D batteries, and we would carry like 12 or 15 with us all the time. You know,
absolutely.
Past a couple hours, we'd be playing like Metallica, Ride the Lightning.
Yeah.
You know, Ozzy, Blizzard of Oz, and Black Sabbath, Mob Rules, and everywhere we went, everywhere. And my buddy was, you know, really into music too, and him and I started just getting, you know, hanging out together, spent a lot of time. We were, you know, saw Ozzy a couple of shows before Randy died.
Oh, you're kidding.
I know, but just started going to shows, and, you know, okay, this is cool, and then I don't know, just one day I stumbled on, and I says, you know, I think I want to play guitar. Randy Rhoads is like such a huge influence on me. However, I couldn't play guitar to save my life. So, needless to say, you know, and my mom and my family, they were like, dime a dozen musicians, losers, you know. So it was kind of frowned upon, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll just be a fan of music. I actually joined the Marines in 85, 86.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Oh, no problem. So I went to the Marines, and I went overseas to Japan, and I met a really good friend of mine. He's actually a singer, and me and him we just boom bonded. And basically what happened was I came back from the States, from overseas, came back, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try to start playing guitar again. Now, mind you, I was like 20, 21, which in most standards, playing guitar at that age is pretty late.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But you know what I did? I came home, got out of service. I went to the Conservatory of Music in Wisconsin here for just a semester. I took a rhythm class, came out, and I was like, just right away, started my first crossover hardcore band right away, started writing my own music. That was it. That was it. I just, boom, right out the gate. And I really think the reason, or really, I guess, to more so answer your question, I'm being a little long-winded here, but to answer your question, it's therapy.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a therapy. It's like getting your feelings out on paper. And I know some people say, well, I keep a journal and this, that.
Yeah.
Well, my journal is like the world. You know, it's like people read the lyrics and people listen to the music.
Yeah.
And I just always said to myself one day, I'm like, I want to be a rock star. Hey, you know, I'm telling you, I want to be a rock star. I want to tour. I want to be on this big stage. I want thousands of people to be like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason.
That's really cool, man. I kind of view music the same way. I tried it. I just never had the patience to go ahead and stick with it. I think I had a period of time where I was actually practicing quite a bit on guitar, and I was thinking I was getting somewhat good, but I just got derailed, and I never have really had the patience, except for that one time, to really stick with it. But music is,
and it happens. It happens. I mean, it's not. I mean, I started playing. I tried to start playing at like age 15, 16, and I just, I couldn't stick. It was there and then gone. And it took me like 4 or 5 years later to go like, no, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to stick with it.
Do you think the Marines? Do you think the Marines, the discipline that you got from being in the Marines, helped facilitate you, being able to stick with it after that?
No, I actually think it was my determination to kind of go against the grain, because when you're in service, I mean, a lot of services are pretty tough, but the Marines are noted to be, besides obviously your special forces, but just as general service goes, the Marines are pretty tough. Yeah. And there's a big code of rules and ethics and conduct, and it's like, I mean, you let your hair get just the tiniest bit, close to your ear, and you're in trouble. Right. I mean, there's just a lot of rules. I mean, the first thing I stopped doing when I got out, I stopped shaving. Yeah. I mean, I trimmed my beard, but I stopped shaving, and I stopped making my bed. Those are the two things, instantly. I got you. I grew my hair. and a lot of my fellow Marines did kind of the same. So, no, I don't think it was a discipline. I mean, I think maybe the discipline to maybe go, okay, you're going to do this. And
that's more along the lines what I was thinking,
Absolutely. I think it was paramount. I don't think I would have stayed the course if it wouldn't have been for that.
Yeah, I to tell you the truth, man, my dad was an Air Force guy. He was a navigator bombardier during Vietnam, and I really should have taken his advice and gone in the military. I had no direction, and I think the military is really good for two types of people. Ones that absolutely have a clear-cut direction of where they want to go, and the other ones who are one step away from being on Skid Row, who absolutely have no, and everybody else in between. It's kind of a case-by-case basis, But I really wish I would have gone in and I'd probably be retired now if I would have made a career out of it.
I guess that's the one thing that I look at in retrospect is the same thing. Mm-hmm. Now, I said to myself, dude, if you would have stayed in, you would have been retired like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I mean, I work a lot of dead-end jobs. Mm-hmm. Keep weekends free, You take a lot of dead-end jobs, Yeah. And I know a lot of musicians that have really, really good jobs, and they try to be the type of musician maybe that I am, or maybe not even maybe me, but other people that tour and and they really do it locally, they do it as a hobby, so to speak. But that they're never really going to go, I'm going to do this. Yeah. I'm going to try to do it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was talking to Scott Owen, now of Lemonade and formerly of Hyrax and Piranha. That guy's busting his ass 7 days a week doing construction, and he's still finding the time to go ahead and try to go ahead and put out music and everything. And I gotta really hand it to to musicians who actually have to actually go ahead and work and are still doing music, as a full-time gig. It's not easy.
No, it's not. It really isn't, especially when, you're on a label and they want you to tour and you're like, well, if I tour, I'm going to lose my job. Well, you don't care. Yeah. And it's like, so you go out maybe for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks tops. Yeah. And you come home more broke than when you go out. And it's like, you almost come home in debt. Yeah. And then it's kind of like, not only are you coming home to debt, but now you're coming from no job. Yeah. So it is a very a lot of I hear the term labor of love, and I don't like that term because my relationship with music is love-hate. Yeah. It's like I've tried to quit for years. I've tried to go back to school, and it's like like the old saying, it just keeps sucking me back in. This need or this want. Yeah,
it's your DNA.
Hell of music.
Mm-hmm. It's been your DNA since you were a kid.
Yeah, me and a couple other guys around town that are like old vets. We've got this little funny thing like, yeah, it's in the blood, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, all right. So, who are your influences? Both as I know you mentioned Randy, but who are your other influences for as a guitarist and also as a vocalist? And who are your all-time favorites, both as a vocalist and as a guitarist?
I'm gonna say, influence for me. How can I say this? I stumbled on to death metal.
Okay.
It didn't just I didn't start off, hey, let's play death metal. We actually started off, me and Jason, the original bass player, actually started off a hardcore band, and we, a bunch of different guys, and what happened was, we had a lineup change, and then we were like, wait a minute, these guys are younger than we were, but yet it was just a different feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started to write like this kind of, I think they had all listened to death metal already, really so much. So I started doing some research, and next thing you know, I'm like, hey, next thing you know, we're writing, the Gory Departure,
Yeah.
So we're writing that in the basement, and I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. But we just didn't stumble on it. As far as influences go, guitar players in Randy Rhoads, obviously paramount.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw in Vandenberg. I think Vandenberg from White Snake or Vandenberg, just Vandenberg.
Yeah.
Underrated.
Adrian.
Vivian Campbell.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Amazing. And then I'd have to say, on the other end, there's so many good ones. Red Beach is good, and oh God, the guys from Night Ranger are awesome.
Yeah, Warren DeMartini, guys like that.
Absolutely. But Ingve too.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing player, always. He's on a bad freaking day if he ever has one.
Yeah.
But so I'd say that guitar players. But then I'd have to say, if you're looking at, guitar players, death metal guitar players, mainstream or rock, death metal. Chuck Schuldiner, definitely paramount in my book. James Murphy.
Oh, fully, man.
Another biggie. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of departure, but Eric Rutan.
Okay, I've never heard of him. I never heard of him.
Wow, that's really strange. You should, because Eric Rutan was in Morbid Angel.
Okay.
Also, he was in Ripping Corpse of way back in the day. And
okay.
His big band today, well, of course, is Hate Eternal.
Okay.
And not only that, but he mixes and produces like Cannibal Corpse and I think Nile, and so he's a producer now. But
awesome!
He loves his band, but he's just an amazing player. And I think when I listen to my solos on the new record, I go, wow! Like you can totally tell. It feels to me, my solos feel like a mix between a little bit of Chuck from Death and a little bit of Rutan,
That's awesome.
So, but then there's other really good guys, too, like Alex Skolnick, Peterson. So there's so many, but the basic ones there. Vocally, I would honestly have to say, huge fan, of course, of Chuck. And Chuck is very paramount for really what I do.
Absolutely.
Very big influence. But if you're talking about other, not only Chuck, but another big influence on me was Carl from Bolt Thrower.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Huge. And then also, too, Barney from Napalm Death.
Oh, fully.
So, those are like three pretty big influences because those guys had all just cut their first albums, like maybe even two, and that's when we kind of came on the scene. Yeah. So,
what about Jeff Walker from Carcass?
Say what?
What about Jeff Walker from Carcass?
Oh, dude, him and Bill Steer, dude, are you kidding me, dude?
Yeah.
Bill Steer's another amazing.
Yeah.
That dude, for a death metal guitar player, his leads are unfreaking real.
Oh, dude, he's unreal, man. Another vocalist, I don't know, were you ever influenced from Peter from Vader?
Not so much. Not that I don't like them.
Right.
I do. People from just come on, it's classic.
Uh-huh.
Not really so much.
Okay.
I'm kind of more into the whole. Also too, another big influence, Frank from Suffocation.
Yeah.
At the time, back in that day, it was like, hey, let's sing as low as we can, and you can kind of hear that throughout our records. You can kind of hear the eras where, he's singing low, and now I'm singing a little bit higher here.
Yeah.
But a lot of that too depends on the music and how I feel. You know what I mean? I'll be playing a riff that might make me want to sing low, and then I'll play like some songs. I sing a little bit of in a lower register, and then some songs I sing in a higher register. It just depends on how the feel and the key of the song is that makes me do that. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. The Sheboygan, Wisconsin metal scene was described as by ex-Morbid Saint vocalist Pat Lind as being pretty much non-existent up until the late 80s. He would say a Metallica fan here, an AC/DC fan there. There just weren't a lot of people interested in extreme metal around to actually form a scene before that time. Was that similar in Milwaukee for MORTA SKULD?
You know, and I'm so, I mean, dude, you've really done your research, so my hat's off to you, because...
Thanks, man.
That was a very big thing back in, like, 89 to, like, 93, was Sheboygan. There was a place called Croatian Hall, and we played there. I think we played there at Morbid Saint once or twice. We played there with Realm. We played there with Acrofet, and Bolthrower actually played there. They played once in Milwaukee, and the night they played up there. So I lived kind of close there at the time, and I went up and saw both shows.
Oh, nice.
So this hall, it was just weird. It was in the middle of a residential area. I think it was like an old church at one point.
Nice.
Dude, here's the thing about the scene today versus the scene back then. Back then, you were just like, hey, we're playing. And people came. There was no, dude, I couldn't get out, my wife, or dude, I decided to watch a movie, or I didn't have any money, or... there were no excuses. You just went.
Yeah.
And I mean, that scene was so amazing. I mean, I've got so much videotape.
Oh,
and
nice.
Now, mind you, this is an unseasoned band at the time. Didn't even have a record out yet. We had 2 demos. And we're playing in front of like 400 or 500 people, like, all the time.
Nice.
I mean, it was ridiculous, dude. I mean, you would play a bowling alley. I remember one of our first or second gigs was a bowling alley, and there were like 400 kids there. It was ridiculous. You know, so I think at that time, what Pat's a great guy. I love
yeah, he is, man.
I think what he's trying to say is, at that time, that's when everything was just kind of like, do you remember, I'm kind of, I guess, going to go on a little bit of a, you remember back in the day when I think Metallica, I think it was Lars, he just said, like, dude, it was just kind of like, they asked him up back in the day, like, well, how did this happen? It was just magic.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people, I said, I don't know, it was just magic. It was like, we had 2 demos out, our neighboring fellow bands had a demo, everybody at least had 1 demo out or 2 demos out, and, like, nobody wrote bad songs.
Yeah.
It was weird. Everybody loved each other's material.
Yeah.
It was like, holy crap. And I just luckily came into it at the time.
Yeah.
When, like, kind of like this was right after Metallica, like right after like that whole, dude, if you dream it, you can do it. It was just right, like we got caught right in that wave, right as it was going down. Yeah. And we just got caught up in that, and I thought it was so cool. Yeah. I mean, we really didn't tour as a band, and we were selling thousands of records overseas.
Nice.
We're selling cassette tapes at home and vinyls, and so. I do think that time was a very pivotal time for Sheboygan. Yeah, I think it was a pivotal time for Milwaukee, too, since we're not very far apart. We're only like maybe an hour apart.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got you.
But the scene up there was very fruitful, and the scene down here was very fruitful.
Nice.
So we all kind of thrived off of it, and it was just like I said, it was like, you never saw more than 3 bands on a bill. Yeah. Unless it was a metal fest. Yeah. So every time you saw a show, it was 3 bands, it was $5, and boom. So I mean, it was a very good time. Yes, I think not only for his band, but ours too.
That's killer, man. Yeah, just what you were talking about reminds me back when I was growing up in Northern California during when the Bay Area thrash scene really started to come into its own. I actually went to high school with Rob Cavastani from Death Angel, and I remember him selling the Kill Is One demo out of his locker, and then for $5. And which I should have bought one back then, and they also actually played the lunch hour during one of the lunches towards the ending of the year, his senior year, which was pretty fucking nuts at the end of the show when you had every thrasher and skater and everything, moshing around and everything. But it was just an energetic time, and you could not get enough of it. And the more obscure the band you could find, the better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, can totally relate. I mean, that's how it was, and I mean, that's how I started out, as, basically before I was in a band, as a music fan.
Yeah.
It was to scout out these obscure bands, and
Yeah.
like, who the hell are these guys?
Yeah.
You know? So, no, totally, I agree. It was a great time. Early 80s, late 80s, great time for music.
Oh yeah, I consider it from like 78 to about 92 to be about what I would consider the golden age of music as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How old are you, if you don't mind me?
I just turned 46 this year, sir.
Oh, okay. So we're not too far. I'm turning 50 this month.
Yeah, well, hey, man, you're putting out riffs that the 20-year-olds are envying. You know what I mean? Well, I have read in short that Chuck Schuldiner from Death was a big mentor of yours of sorts to you when you got into the death metal scene and afterwards. Can you describe in which ways he was?
You know what? How can I say? When I first started listening to death metal, my manager at the time, Eric Rice manages Death.
Oh yeah, Awesome Morbid Saint.
Right. So he at the time managed us. He's like, hey man, he's like, you got to educate yourself. You got to go out and, I remember we went out. We got the first Pestilence record. We got the first Napalm, and got the. And all of a sudden, at the time I actually worked at a record store. So I was working at a record store. I was pulling records, and one day I looked at this cover. I was like, dude, who's this?
Yeah.
It just said Death,
Mm-hmm.
Leprosy. And I'm like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
this is a sweet-looking cover, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at the time, I was really getting into, like, bands like Nuclear Assault.
Oh, yeah.
Early Anthrax. I was really getting into some cool stuff. And all of a sudden, it's like, hey, who's this Death guy?
Mm-hmm.
And, my buddy looks at me, and he says, like, yeah. He's like, dude, you should take it, I didn't pay for it. I stole it. I'm going to admit to that.
It happens.
I took it. And I got home, and I listened to it, and it did change my life, dude. Because
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is what I want to play right here.
Yeah.
Between Death, Leprosy,
Mm-hmm.
and I would probably say Obituary, Cause of Death.
Ugh.
Those two albums, just huge.
Oh, yeah.
And Chuck, just listening to the riffs, because not only shortly then after that, then, Human came out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry, Spiritual Healing.
Yeah.
I had myself. Spiritual Healing. And that album, I was like, dude, like, that album really even spoke to me more.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt the songwriting was a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
I felt like he was a little more angry.
Yeah.
The lyrics were just, tasty as shit. So,
Yeah.
and that album between those first, the Leprosy and Spiritual Healing really, really influenced me. And then when Human came out, it was like, oh my God. So, hey, and you listen to any of our records, and I definitely think there is a huge influence of Chuck. Maybe not so early on. I'd say maybe a little bit in the middle to late stages, but I'd say even more so today.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine, and we were listening to the album, and he's like, dude, he goes, your solo sound a little Chuckish, and I said, yeah, I said a little bit. I said, I'm not as good as he is. I'm not really that great of a solo player to begin with. I said, but I'm not as good as him. But I hear some of the resemblances. So that's really kind of how he influenced me, or really started to.
That's really cool, man, because I listened to your playing, and especially on the first album, I absolutely love the solos you do on the first album. You are able to ride the melody of a song like...
Which ones? Because there's two different... There's two solo players on that record, and the really shitty ones are mine, not mine. Depends on which one you're talking about.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I consider both types of solos on that album to be really good, both the ripping ones and the ones that actually follow the melody lines of the song. It gives it that real, kind of like almost like Crusader, Middle Eastern type feel to the solos. The ones that really go ahead and stick to the melody line of the song.
Yeah. Those were probably Jason O'Connell's. I wrote my solos on the first, on the very first record, even the demos were kind of very eclectic, and a lot of whammy bar and.
Sound good to me.
There was just a lot of out of key stuff, because I really didn't know how to play that well, to be honest with you. But the thing is, back then, and with death metal, you didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
It depended on what kind of band you were, But
yeah.
There were a lot of death metal bands that really weren't great guitar players, but they were really good at playing death metal.
Oh, yeah.
So I always thought to something about myself. I said, well, I think I'm a great guitar player, but I think I play death metal pretty good, you know?
Yeah. No.
The solo parts, I just wanted to do something because, you know, I would listen to other records. I know there's two different solo guys, so I would just do my stuff, even though they were out of key. And it's weird, all these years later, I did have a friend of mine come to me once, and he said to me, he says, dude, all the solos, I love all your solos. And I said, well, what do you love about them? I said, a lot of them are out of key. I said, pretty much up in, I'd say first and second, the first record, everything was out of key, like horribly. The second record, I kind of snapped into a little bit.
Sounded good to me, man.
By the fourth one, I started writing a lot of in-key stuff that was pretty decent.
Yeah.
So he said, honestly, I know the other guitar player that we had in the band was an amazing lead player, and he was really, really good. You know, so his leads were just wow. I was like, dude, I can't match that, but I'm going to do my own thing. But like, if I get back to my friend, he said, I really liked your leads, and I said, why is that? And I said, dude, what about Jason's leads, dude? They're amazing. And he's like, dude, they're scales. Their scales need to be mechanical. He goes, your stuff is just feel.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's really cool. I appreciate that because even with the current record we did, my guitar player now and I had a conversation, and I said, wow, dude, I said, really ripped up some solos there, dude. I said, I practiced my butt off, and I just can't seem to do that. And he goes, well, dude, you have something I don't have. And I said, what's that? And he goes, you improvise some of your spots. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess. You know, I didn't really think it was anything big, but he thought that was a big deal because in a lot of my solos, I have them like 80-85% worked out, and there's a little bit of 15% that's improv.
Yeah.
So him and the rest of the guys, there was like one solo in particular on the record I did that they were like, dude, I really love that solo. And it was one of the first times anybody in my band actually said they liked the solo I did. So I really, was like, wow, I'm finally doing something kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, man, like I said, I listening to that first and second album and the albums after that, man, I mean, your solos, I think there's not really any bad solos on those albums, so.
I appreciate it. You're very kind.
No, man, I'm just telling you the way I see it, man. So, all right. So, MORTA SKULD released not only some of the best death metal of the 1990s, but some of the best extreme metal. Period, in my opinion. However, as death metal's popularity started dying out in the later part of the decade, or I should say, however, death metal's popularity started dying out in the later part of the decade. Anyway, that is also around the same time that nu metal started really kind of becoming popular with a lot of the fans. With a lot of the bands that were traditionally thrash metal or death metal, particularly, I hate to say it, but they're kind of on my shit list right now. Slayer doing their nu metal album, that Diablos and Music album, and just other bands that are straying away from what they were normally doing. Do you think that nu metal had a big part in the weakening death metal's popularity at that time? In some ways, kind of like death metal did to thrash metal.
No, I don't. Not at all.
Okay.
I think the reason why death metal kind of went back underground or went kind of away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the grunge scene came in and killed a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, what happens is music does have to go in cycles.
Yeah.
It really does, and it always has. The problem is well, I'm not really happy with the cycle with where it's going at this point. But it goes in cycles, and I think once Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and all that grunge stuff started coming on the scene, I just think what it was is people needed a change, and I think they grabbed onto that.
Yeah.
And then in between, though, that era, you did have a few bands like Nickelback, and you had a few bands that were still kind of like, hey, we're still rock, we're still here. So those bands didn't get hurt by it, but the death metal bands, we were. I felt like we were put on like an extinction list.
Yeah.
It was bad. I mean, we couldn't. After our drummer had left us, the one reason why the band never continued is we could not find a drummer that would do double bass.
Wow.
All the drummers we were finding were like, I want to do Nirvana, or I want to do Stone Temple Pilots, or I want to, play a Styx cover band, or it's either that or cover bands. I want to be in a cover band now.
Yeah.
And so we just really couldn't find anybody, not only that, but with the endurance. We tried a couple guys out, it just didn't work. They couldn't do it, and we were like, no, we're not going to do MORTA SKULD if we have a subpar drummer. We will not do it.
Yeah.
You know, we're early on. We had some, you know, a little bit of subpar stuff going on, and we corrected it. We corrected once, you know, Kent came on board.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that happened. I just think it was the grunge came in, took over. People were looking for an alternative. So then I think some people kind of went more back to rock.
Yeah.
And I think some people just stayed with the alternative stuff.
Yeah.
And then all kinds of other weird shit come out in between.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think so. But
Yeah.
it did. I will say this much: the new metal. You know, maybe they did have maybe there was some kind of cohesion between that and grunge. Maybe they both kind of. But like new metal to me really didn't come on the scene until like 2000.
Okay.
You know, 2000, 2001. I'm sure there were some bands that are a little earlier than that, but you know, but I would have to say like Korn, bands like Korn. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people are like, well, you know what, death metal is gone, so what's the next heaviest thing? And I think a lot of fans, you know, latched onto like Korn and bands like that.
Yeah.
And then maybe started going on to some other new metal stuff. So yeah, and I mean, and I did. I joined a band that a lot of people considered new metal, which my intentions were never to have it new metal, but that's what everybody really considered it. And I don't know if that's because I'm Dave Gregor, MORTA SKULD, death metal, and now I'm doing this band, so it must be new metal because it's not death metal.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we did get that categorization when that band did come out. So
I gotcha. Yeah, I think the same thing happened with the guys from Death Angel when Death Angel broke up in the early 90s. They went on to do something different, and it was like, well, they can't do something different because these are the guys from Death Angel. And yeah, I think they had to go ahead and fight a lot of it. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, we can play other stuff besides thrash, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. If you don't mind discussing it, what was the story behind MORTA SKULD's breakup in the 90s?
Now, which breakup are we talking about? Are we talking about, like, the breakup, like, in 98, or are we talking about the breakup in, like, 92?
92.
Okay. Great question. You did your homework. Kudos. Basically, you know what? I had met a really awful woman, and some reason I just could not, I don't know. I married this person very quick, and we had a kid, and...
It happens.
It was just a very bad time for me and the band. You know, we were recording Dying Remains, and they were just like, dude, you know, you're not playing very well, and you know, and just a lot of hassle about this and that. And I'm kind of like, you know, I'm going through a divorce, man. You know, I'm like, you know, just chill and you know, just whatever. We got through it, and then after the album was done, they basically were just like, hey, you know, if you don't improve, you're gone. And I'm kind of like, well, wait a second, this is my band.
Yeah.
I said, I started this and brought you guys in.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it just, you know, you had three guys that were, you know, just kind of separated themselves from me, and they just didn't like how things were going at the time. And I said, okay, fine, you know, and it was kind of like, you know, screw you. And I actually picked up a bunch of local guys right away. They were in a band already, but their singer was trying out for Cynic, and basically they were without a singer. So I just said, hey, dude, can I jump in? And they're like, yeah. So we started doing shows and started writing material under the MORTA SKULD name. And then the other three guys that were in MORTA SKULD, they tried out a lot of different people, didn't have much luck. They had tuned up at that time. So we were in a drop tuning on Dying Remains. They tuned up to D, Malevolent Creations in D, I think Death is in D, so, you know, D standard. They tuned up and they started writing some songs. So several months had gone by and we had met each other at a party, and my drummer at the time was jamming with Realm, and I'm like, wow, dude, you're now at MORTA SKULD anymore? He's like, no, I'm still doing MORTA SKULD, we're just kind of on a break. And I was like, okay, you know, and you know, we just all got back together at that point, just like, yeah, you know, it's kind of foolish and blah, 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 and, you know, kind of patch things up and, you know, commence to write As Humanity Fades.
Yeah. We're getting the band back together.
Exactly. Like, I missed you, man.
Yeah, that's great, man. You know, I when I was talking to Pat the other day, he was actually my last interview, I think he's kind of gone through a kind of a similar thing. I don't know if you know what's going on or if you even want to talk about it, but I mean, he talked about that when I contacted him for the interview a few months ago. He's like, well, I'm not sure if you know, but I actually left Mormon Saint a few months ago. And then I talked to him about it, and it just kind of seems that he kind of went through kind of something similar, man. And he just said, you know what, it's no use beating my head against the rock if it's not going to move, you know. And so he left, and it's like I'll go out there. I don't know what happened or whatever. I hope that guy finds a gig, man, because he's too good of a vocalist and too good of a frontman to.
No, a lot of people were very disappointed, you know, when he left. We just played with Morbid State not long ago, and he wasn't there. And he came, he just wasn't singing. And that's because I really don't know the new guy very well, and you know, it's unfortunate. No, and he's a good guy, and it's absolutely correct. I mean, you know, that's one of the reasons why 9mm Solution, which was the band that I, you know, was in after MORTA SKULD. That's why that band broke up too.
Yeah.
You know, I had another kid with the same awful person, made another mistake, and you know, paid for it. And, you know, I had to go for custody of my kid, which I lost.
Yeah. Man, that sucks, man. Well, I'm sorry to hear that and everything. I hope things have rebounded for you, though. You still there? Hey, Dave, you still there? Hey, Dave. Hey, sorry about that. Looks like we got disconnected. Okay, all right. I'm going to start the record again. Hold on just 1 second, sir. All right, thanks, man. Okay. Okay, all right, cool. Sorry about that. Okay, so all right. So go ahead and continue.
You're talking about Patrick. You know what? Basically, you know, a lot of times you're in a band, and sometimes people don't stick around. You know, people don't want to stick. They don't want to weather the storm, so to speak. You know.
Yeah.
I've stuck by pretty much. I've been a pretty loyal person my whole life, and I've stuck by a lot of different musicians.
Yeah.
Over the years, and it sucks because sometimes you get the oh crap.
Yeah.
You know, if I would have known what I knew, I never would have stuck it out with that person. So
yeah.
You know, it's tough. It's tough being in a band. I feel bad for Pat because, I think he should be in Morbid Saint. And, you know, I'd love to play more with those guys, and I think we should tour. I think it'd be a good tour.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. That's that. I would be the first one in line to get tickets for that, to tell you. Well, you probably already kind of answered it, but I'll ask you anyway. What was the 9mm Solution band experience like for you? Reflecting back on it, are you glad that you actually did it?
And you know, I have to give you kudos for doing your homework because I don't think a lot of people, and I don't do like, you know, I'm not like some big rock star. I'd like to be, but I'm not. And I do interviews from time to time. You know, I do a few a month. You know, nothing big, but you know. And again, I appreciate that people like yourself are doing this because it's great for me to, have you as an avenue, but then you have me as an avenue, so we kind of help each other out. But to be honest with you, the 9mm thing, you know, MORTA SKULD had broken up. It had been a couple of years. I tried doing some things on my own, me, you know, singing and playing. I started kind of listening to, like you said, the new metal thing started creeping up on me. I started hearing these bands. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, dude, that's fucking heavy as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, whoa, that's really catchy.
Right.
You know? So, and I really like the combination. And it's kind of like death metal. Death metal, you got the real catchy, groovy stuff, and you get the fast stuff, and then, you know, then you get the mid-tempo stuff. So but yeah, new metal, you didn't. It didn't require you, I guess. I mean, there are some good new metal guitar players, but like, you know, for example, Wayne Static, great guitar player, singer. Was he a great guitar player? You know, some of the stuff he played was pretty basic, but he played it well. So, and that they were probably one of the first bands I started listening to where I'm like, whoa, I really fucking like this heavy shit, you know? But I like some of the way he's doing melodies and singing, too. So I tried doing some stuff on my own for a while. I had a 3-piece lineup, and I cut a demo, and I was like, oh, my God, Dave. You know, I just really wasn't... I just, you know, I was trying to... There was heavy stuff, and then there was singing stuff.
Right.
The singing stuff didn't turn out so well. I really was like, oh, crap, that doesn't sound very good. So I decided to enlist a singer.
Okay.
Which we met, you know, we had one, Andrew was our first singer. Well, actually, he was in the formation right before 9mm.
Okay.
So I kind of went through this weird formation. I called myself MORTA SKULD for a while because people were always like, hey, Dave, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be in a different band. They're like, no, you're a MORTA SKULD. And I didn't know how else to, like, get people to know that it was me playing besides saying, hey, it's MORTA SKULD. So we went in that for a little while. Then it finally morphed into 9mm Solution.
Okay.
We got a better singer, a good front man, and it just, you know, we worked our asses off, like, really hard. Like, I worked my butt off in death metal, but to a different degree.
Right.
This new metal was way more work, harder. You really had, you know, it was like a step up. It seemed like back in the day, you put a record out, and the fans would just go buy it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, dude, you have to really, you know, you have to put something out good that they're going to want to buy. So we were doing demo after every year. We were doing demos every year for like 6-7 years in a row. So a lot of money out the door.
Yeah.
But we started getting better as a band, and you know, we hired a producer to produce our records, and we got some like advice as far as like, you know, for live show stuff and whatever. And we really just started to turn it into just like it was just an amazing band. I mean, we went on a tour in 2009 and just killed it, dude. So
nice.
We were very close. We were very close to doing it, but unfortunately, you know, you come to that proverbial fork in the road.
Yeah.
So, well, do we go home? Do we go home and be like, wow, this is fun, and try to do it again? Or do we just keep going?
Yeah.
And at that point, I really felt if the band would have kept going, then I really think that band would probably still be around today, probably, or still touring.
Okay.
But we came home, and I basically had to, you know, some family stuff, you know, trying to get custody of my kid. And, you know, the band didn't want to wait around for that. They didn't want to wait around for me to tour again in a month, you know, 6 months or a year, and they were just like, you know, screw you.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me because 9mm, like MORTA SKULD, was my baby.
Yeah.
And the experience overall, I want to say, was good, very good. It allowed me to play on a lot of stages that I probably will not or would not have played with MORTA SKULD.
Right.
So, just a wider audience, you know, radio airplay. It was just a great experience. It really was. So, Nice. You know, it was cool.
All right.
I like that band a lot still.
Well, that's great, man. That's really cool. All right. So between the USA, the UK, and Sweden, which country do you think does death metal the best, and your feelings as to why?
Well, I can't speak, I guess, of any other bands, like royalty statements, but like when I go over my royalty statements and see what units we've sold where, the most units we sell are in Germany. Okay. And I would say probably the second is probably the UK. Okay. You know? So, and I think the reason why is because I think, well, first of all, I think Europe in general, I think, is more accepting of a wider spectrum of music than we are in the U.S. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of bands that only tour over there. They don't tour over here. You know, they just tour there. And because the fans are so much more appreciative. So I really think that the European fans have just, they do. They're not, I just feel like they're not spoiled like we are in the U.S. Right. So that's kind of why I really think those, you know, records sell more. I mean, you know, we were, you know, MORTA SKULD's been around since 1989, 1990. And even till this day, most of our fan base is overseas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a weird thing, you know. It just, but that just happened, you know. I mean, we were circulating our demos through the underground, and I was writing with guys like Nick A. from Entombed, and Carl from Bolt Thrower, Frank from Suffocation. I'm trying to think, Mitch from Napalm. I mean, I was writing these guys on like regular basis and just keeping in touch, and it was just, you know, it was a very cool time.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah, all right, cool. Let's see. Right. Sorry about that. I'm moving through my iPad. Sorry about that. Okay.
It's number 4, just so you know. Not that I care, but I'm just letting you know.
I'm sorry. What was that?
The 4th question, you skipped that.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah. So, and I totally apologize. I got my questions mixed up.
I'm just letting you know. It's not a big deal. I'm just letting you know. I didn't know if you were aware, so I was just letting you know.
Yeah. And actually, I was just thinking that right when you mentioned that. I was like, man, I skipped over question number 4. So
I appreciate you being so prepared and sending me a list, because it's cool. Because I've actually I was going over this at work today. So
awesome, man, awesome. All right, so I'll go ahead with question number 4, and thanks for being so cool about this, man.
No worries. Thank you.
All right, Nate, no worries. All right, so I consider Dying Remains to be one of the all-time classic death metal albums, definitely up there with albums from that time period by bands like Death, Obituary, Carcass. I am also the thought that there was definitely a thrash element to the music. When I listen to that album, for some reason, I think to myself that Exodus could have written the songs on that album. I'm talking about Dying Remains. Were they an influence on both you and the band, and what bands were the most inspirational and influential during MORTA SKULD's formative years?
Well, I guess this is where me and you are going to disagree, because I don't hear Exodus.
Okay.
I don't hear Exodus anywhere in Dying Remains.
Okay.
So not that I don't not that I hate them, because I don't. I mean, dude, Bonded by Blood and Pleasure of the Flesh.
Oh, absolutely.
Please. I just saw them like last year live here, and they were amazing.
Yeah.
Holy shit. No, they really didn't have much influence on me.
Okay.
I'd say the bands that had the most influence on me at that time was we were, you know, the whole band. We were listening to a lot of Bolt Thrower, a lot of Carcass.
Yeah.
Entombed.
Yeah, great bands.
You know, we were just all into like just the heavy. I mean, My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost. I mean, we were just. It was just, you know, we just dove into all these awesome classic albums, and just was like, you know, Dying Remains. I want to say that album we kind of wore our influence on our sleeve, because there's a lot of emulation. But basically, you know, that is still till today. That's still what a lot of fans, you know, email about, or, you know, we talk a lot about it. I mean, the reissue for Dying Remains on Peaceful Records is actually coming out in December 9th, actually.
Uh-huh.
So we got some reissues coming out now. But,
nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic album, people say, and I so appreciate that, because that's a great honor to be a part of that, and then have people like yourself and other people say it's classic. So.
Oh, man. I mean, because I found out about the same time that I found out about Grave, and how I found out about Grave is I saw Terry Butler from Death wearing a Grave t-shirt, and I was like, I think I'll check him out. And then, so I was actually over at my local CD shop trying to find a Grave album, and I came across MORTA SKULD, and I'm like, you know what? I think I've seen this album cover before. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick it up just on a whim. Blown away from the first listen to, bro. Blown away. Hey, man. Hey, it's just the way I see it. In fact, I was blasting it. It's excellent pre-workout music, workout music, and afterward music. I'll put it to you that way, bro.
It's crazy, because my girlfriend, too, like, she loves death metal, and she'll be like, hey, she's like, you guys ever gonna learn Rotting Ways again? And I'm just like, oh, man. I love that song. So I think it's kind of funny.
Man.
And that album took me a long time to get acquainted with, because, you know, I had departed myself with death metal for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I started going into new metal, and I really, honestly, at that point, like a lot of people, I didn't listen to death metal really at all. I mean, the only bands I kind of really did was Napalm and like Morbid Angel I'd listen to, but like nothing else. So
okay.
I lost touch with death metal for quite a few years doing the new metal thing and
Yeah.
trying to get in, those style of bands.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, you kind of feel a little bit again. After that goes by for a while, now you start seeing a little bit of a switch in the music. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fully. All right. Well, between Europe and South America, or I should say, Europe and South America have a number of festivals each year, attracting thousands and thousands of people. Yet over here in the U.S., there is basically only the Maryland Death Fest. Why do you think that is, and do you think that it will ever change? Do you think the American concert-going culture plays a big part of it, i.e., the perceived violence that happens in a lot of American music concert festivals?
Being a part of the Milwaukee Metal Fest for, 8 or 9 years, whatever it was, we were on there pretty much forever.
Yeah.
Just being a part of that was such a big thing here in Wisconsin. And I think, again, what happened was, Maryland Death Fest, we were trying to get on that last year. I'm sure we'll try to get on this year, too, or next year. But sometimes you get like a fest, I think the Maryland Death Fest kind of maybe took the torch, or maybe what the Milwaukee Metal Fest was.
Yeah.
The last one we did too, the fans were dwindling. They were dwindling. The music was changing, and the problem was the music. That's another thing. You have to match the music to the demographic base.
Yeah.
So if there's a lot of people are going to be willing to travel to Maryland, or Maryland's a spot for that,
mm-hmm.
boom. So a lot of it I think has to do with demographics, but then also it has to have the right bands on the bill for the people to come.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've played a show in town, and if you have like maybe 2 of these bands instead of 2 of those bands, you could be talking about a difference of 30 to 40 people.
Yeah.
So a lot of it I think has to do with demographics, but a lot of it I think has to do with where the music is.
Yeah.
At that point of that festival.
Yeah, I got you. Do you think it's going to continue to be if the fans over here in the U.S. want to see a good bill of bands together, that it's going to continue to have to be like a package tour type thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the only, because nobody around here really wants to, do anything. I think they have like the Rock on the Ranges out in Oklahoma and stuff like that, but they're not full metal shows. They're like metal mixed with a bunch of other stuff,
Right, like Foreigner, Journey, Styx.
Yeah, all the old rockers that, love going out there and playing or whatever, but they're not putting out new music,
Right.
Yeah. All right. So, how's the new album coming along? By the way, really, really stoked that it's coming out soon, I think. But how's the new album coming along, and what are the newest members of the band bringing to the creative process?
The new album is finished.
Okay, cool.
I think, I'm trying to think of a date when we wrapped it up. We started recording in the end of May.
Okay.
And I think we finally wrapped it up in, I think it was like beginning of August.
Oh, nice.
So the recording's done, everything's finalized, the artwork, layout, boom, everything's been done. Very long process on this album. This is probably my first album since the 9mm Solution in 2008, 9.
Okay. Okay.
So it's been a long time since I've done an album, and the preparations to get it done.
Yeah.
So we did have, the one thing is we started writing way last year.
Okay.
And we had a couple of lineup changes.
Okay.
So a lot of times with those lineup changes, you get put back further than you want.
Yeah.
And finally we got the solid line together, and then we're like, hey. So we had a couple of tunes already written, and then we started writing more with the current lineup. And I'll say this, which I think every one of these guys, when we talk about lineups, like I feel like this is my deaf human lineup,
Okay.
I mean, everybody just brings so much to the table. And now, AJ being the bass player he is, or Scott being the guitar player, I mean, even Eric, Eric House, he was being Jungle Rot many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he just brings just some tremendous drums, and just every single guy, I think we have to have a bunch of really good guys, and it's just everybody's very talented. So I mean, it's it was a very rough process. I'm not going to lie. You get older, and some things get a little more difficult. But then it is what it is. And then, of course, technology's changed, too. So some things are easier, some things are tougher.
Yeah.
But, we're very happy with the album. I don't have a release date yet, but it's supposed to be coming out in either January or February of 2017 on Peaceful Records as well. We're now back on Peaceful Records, signed again with them, and we'll have to see how this record goes.
Right on. So your label mates with Autopsy then?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Chris Ryford actually was a year ahead of me in high school as well. So it's kind of cool seeing these dudes that went to the same school. They're still around doing music and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the recording process like with all the new recording technology? Does the band still record as if recording to tape, or do you record using a lot of modern techniques?
I would have to say we use the modern technology. I don't want to say there's really any per se techniques
okay.
to use. It's a lot different now. You know what I'm saying? I can lay down a rhythm guitar track, and then I can go over it, and I can fix guy can punch me in and punch me out, and I can fix takes in, sometimes seconds. Versus maybe having to do it in maybe 15, 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
So I would say that has really improved me. Pro Tools, it's just amazing,
Okay.
It really is. It makes really cool for editing. So, if you're listening to, we're not perfect. And we didn't set this record out to be perfect. But there were some things where, hey, we don't want to let that slide. We're going to fix this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But there were some things where I was like, you know what? We're going to leave that.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I want people to hear this as a real band playing. Not, Milli Vanilli or, backing tracks. There's a lot of bands out there right now using backing tracks and backing vocals.
Exactly. James Murphy from... Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was going to say I'm name dropping again. Sorry, but I was talking to James Murphy a few weeks ago, and he was like, he's like, what I do have something. He's like, these tools are great pre-production tools, and they're good for for editing and things like that. But what I'm against is editing 100% to the grid. And he said a lot of these bands, they put these songs together and they haven't ever actually sat down and played them together. So that's difficult for them. And then when they try to go out on tour, they got to have backing tracks. So let's just call it for what it is.
We wanted to, I would say the only difference is, we did take advantage of, AJ didn't have to bring his bass rick in. He went direct. Because a lot of times with bass, you can go direct and still sound great.
Oh, yeah.
There are, a few different things. But, even like the drums, my drummer's very, very against being over-edited.
Yeah.
And he didn't want it. So a lot of what you're hearing is him.
Okay.
And, there are a couple of times where, I can't think of the Against the Origin, that's one song we do. And, we do, this squeal, and, we do it like 4 or 5 times, throughout the riff, and I'm like, I only hit it once here and maybe once there, and but that one sounds good. So we copied and pasted a couple of them because we thought I think it would sound raunchy if it was like that all the time. However, there was 1 or 2 that we did leave, and we're like, you know what, let's just leave that.
Yeah.
I wanted people to get more of a feel, not going wow, because I consider MORTA SKULD kind of, a little bit more of a polished or commercial death metal band.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. But the thing is I still wanted people to understand, hey, we're still playing our instruments.
Yeah.
We're not going in, we're not copying and pasting over everything.
Yeah.
We're not redoing and editing. So, I try to keep it as real as possible. Some stuff you're going to want to fix.
Yeah.
You're like, that's too awful. Let's fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes down to it, can you actually play it? Yeah, I can actually play it. So I don't have any problem with editing it. So it sounds good because when it comes down to it, I can still play it when asked to. So, all right. So, let's see. Any scheduled, or actually, you just went over the release date. Are you expected to tour immediately after the album comes out?
That's another hard thing. Is the whole touring thing. I would love the band to do that. But again, it's we're a smaller death metal band, unfortunately, over here, and a lot of like for example, I did talk to the label. I said to them, hey, when the record comes out, I'd really like us to come over. I said, even if it's for 3-4 days.
Yeah.
3-4 days. I said, but I'd like to get over to Europe because that's where a lot of our fan base is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do the States too. I have no qualms with that either. But either or, it's time off the job. It's money. Can we get somebody that's going to book the shows? Are people going to come? Are you going to get the right tour package?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of what ifs.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to a guy from another band a few weeks ago, and he was talking about how they paid all their expenses to play over in Germany, like a 3-day festival. They paid out of their own expenses or out of their own money to get over there and get back, and they were really counting on that money from the festival promoter, and they got stiffed for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another reason too. Is we have. I've had several offers like, hey, come over to Belgium. And I'm like, well, pay our plane fare and we'll come over.
Yeah.
And I've told every single person that has contacted me, we will play for free as long as you pay for a round-trip plane ticket and, you just give us a meal or two.
Per diem.
And get our transportation to and from the gigs. That's all I ask for. And we'll come over and play for free.
Yeah.
Nobody has stepped up to the plate yet and has said, like, dude, let's get you taken care of, or yeah, we want. Everybody's like, nope, sorry, you got to pay for it yourself. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm being a jerk about it, but I don't think if somebody wants us to come over there that we should have to pay our plane fare.
Yeah.
And I get why bands do it, though. I get it. I mean, if I had a couple grand to say, if it, just in case, I would do it. But at the same time, there's just so many logistical issues.
Yeah.
Like I said, I told the label, I said, hey, when the album drops, I'm going to be calling you. And they were like, we'll try to put you, in the right direction and maybe in touch with somebody. So maybe something will happen. I can't promise it, but
okay,
it would be nice.
Yeah. Well, you guys definitely put out a good product, man. It would be great for you guys to be able to get out there and actually be supported by the label, and the promoters to actually do it and do it the right way. Yeah, absolutely. Well, what are your go-to guitars, amps, and effects, both in the studio as well as performing live?
This is a great question too. Great question.
Thanks, man.
I am, and it's weird. We play. I guess I should start from the beginning. Dying Remains was a drop tuning. As Humanity Fades, For All Eternity, and then Surface were all in D standard. Literally, I'd say probably when this first kind of formation of MORTA SKULD happened in like 2011, 2012, I was in a drop tuning and I was playing a baritone for 9mm.
Oh, okay.
And I basically said, like, well, can't I just play my baritone? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, but I got all these guitars. I don't want to have to have like 5 different tunings. So, at the time, the bass player was like, I'll try to transpose songs into this tuning, which he did. Some songs sounded really good. Some songs, you could hear some differences.
Yeah.
But my main guitars that I've used for the past 10 years have been a Schecter.
Okay.
I have two C1 or two Blackjack C1EXs.
Okay.
And then I have a SLS C1EX satin finish.
Okay.
Those are the 3 baritones that I own. They're all 3 of them are completely Arsenal.
Okay.
I use the one. It's funny because the two Blackjacks are, same finish, same everything. So they're like identical, but they do have slightly different tones. So I have all my cases labeled, so it's like guitar 1, guitar 2, guitar 3. So I use the main baritone, the guitar 1, and then the guitar 2 as a backup. Okay. And then the SLS C1EX kind of stays at home if I don't need it, and it's more of a practice guitar. Okay. Otherwise, like if let's say we need more than that, then we'll bring all 3. Okay. So those are the main guitars. Amps, I've been using Line 6 for like 16 years.
Okay. Okay. So, good. Yeah, Line 6s are really good amps. I think they kind of get a bad rap because they're like, oh, they're not tubes. Well, dude, they still sound pretty damn decent.
Well,
So,
it depends on what you use. I mean, I use the old Flex tones, which were back in the early 2000, 2001 era.
yeah.
And those first modeling amps that they had were just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I still have my original one from back then too.
Mm-hmm.
So I used it through 9mm. I used it through MORTA SKULD. So the thing I like about them is it allows me to dial up a nice tone quick.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend necessarily hours, but I also can tweak if I want to, and if I want to get real specific, I can.
Yeah.
So like I said, I have two. They're called Flex Tone HD1s. I have two of those.
Okay.
And then I do have an Amplify 75 at home, which is more of like a practice amp.
Okay.
You can run, an effects loop through it and just headphones and, or you can use it as a boom box, whatever. But it's just that. And then also the wirelesses I use are both Line 6.
Oh, okay.
G10 and a G50, I think it is. So.
Okay.
So, yeah, Line 6 is really good shit. My friend the other day has a Line 6 tube amp, the Bogner.
Okay.
He has one of those. He played it, for years. He had to have the tubes looked at, so then he brought his Flex Tone, one similar to I have, puts that on and goes, wow, fucking tone's awesome. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy that you say that after you just switched over from your main amp, which is tube.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're built very well and they're modeled very well, so I love them.
Yeah. You ever have a chance to play like any of the diesels or anything like that?
I haven't had the chance to play anything like that. I have played through a Bogner once, which I really did like, and an Angle, which I really liked as well.
Oh, great amps.
The one thing that I really might be looking at, maybe in the future, I'm thinking about switching to a tube amp, and the EVH 5153s are really hot amps.
Yep. Rob Urbanani from Sacrifice was just talking about them.
Dude, we reamped we did an EP called 72 Masters. And we released that, I think, about 2 years ago. And the guitars in there were all recorded by a Line 6, I think, XD, it's a floorboard version of the pod. And they sounded great.
Yeah.
At the studio, they sounded too fuzzy when you turned them up.
So okay.
We had to reamp them, and what we did is we reamped them through the EVH 5153.
Okay.
So, and they sounded great. And I just heard so many people that I'm like, maybe I should go play through one of these days in one of the stores and just see what it sounds like. So
yeah, definitely.
It may be possible. It might happen in the future.
Dude, that's really cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I played through one of the very first 5150s that came out like in the early 90s, and I mean, and it was just I am so pissed that I had to go ahead and sell it for stupid reasons, but yeah, it was a killer amp, and I heard the same thing about the EVH 5153s. Just very simple to work and just delivers just a nuclear warhead of type sound. Basically, you're not going to be able to mess with it, So yeah, I've heard really good things about him. In fact, as soon as you right before you mentioned it, I was like, you know what? I think I have a feeling he'll mention the EVH 5153s. I just have a feeling. So yeah, and that's just because I've heard everybody.
Now that I think about it, when you ask me about the recording techniques, I guess that would be it, reamping.
Oh, okay.
Well, like if you talk to James Murphy, I mean, a lot of bands reamp now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many death metal bands do it, but I know some of them do it. I know we do it sometimes if we have to. And I don't have a problem with it. So, I mean, some people might say, oh, that's processed or whatever. I'm like, well, we're actually taking a clean signal of what we're actually playing, and we're just throwing it through a different type of distortion. So it's still the same performance. Yeah. It's just we're changing the tone. So I would have to say, to backtrack just a little bit on the techniques, reamping is something that we do.
Oh, okay.
And I don't really have a problem with it. If it's going to make a difference between having a crappy guitar sound or improving it, well,
Yeah.
I'm all for improving it.
Yeah, and I consider it's probably something I should overlook and just listen to it anyway. But like the latest Unleashed album, I became a huge Unleashed fan, and I was really stoked about the new album when it was coming out last year. And the minute I heard the guitar tone, I was like, I cannot listen to it. It's just the guitar tone sucks. The songs may be good, but I'm always going to be thinking that guitar tone is just something I cannot get used to. So I totally understand what you're saying about if it's the difference between a crappy guitar tone and a good guitar tone, you're going to go with what makes it sound good, you know?
Yep.
All right. Well, this is one that I just thought up of, on the fly. But Dave Gregor is concert promoter. He has total, complete control of everything. You got 3 bands that you can go ahead and play that night. 1 death metal band, 1 thrash metal band, and 1 black metal band. You got to decide the order, not only the bands that are going to represent that genre, but the order of appearance. Go.
Ooh, nice. You're like, you got to kill one, stop one, go. Well, I would have to say for a death metal band, I mean, can I include my band?
Absolutely.
I would say us, and I would say thrash band. I would probably say Anthrax.
Okay.
And then if I had, so it would be, and then as far as black metal, it would be Emperor. Okay. So they would open for us, and then we would open for Anthrax.
Nice. You know what's so funny, and I swear to God, I actually thought this. I almost included it in the question that had to do with Exodus. I said, and you have a little bit of Anthrax influence just in the guitar tone, that real moshing guitar tone when it's just the guitar itself. But then I was like, he's probably going to go, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, that's the weird thing too. It's like, Gary Hall's amazing guitar player.
Oh, absolutely.
I love Exodus, dude. I think he's an amazing guitar player. I really wish that Slayer would have let him interact more.
Yeah.
This last record. Because he's very creative.
Yeah.
And not only that, but as you get up there, and you get older, like folks like us, it does become harder.
Yeah.
I mean, you're fighting
tendinitis.
I want to say old age, but you're getting older. You know what I mean? And for me, I've been very fortunate enough to where, I've seen other guys around town. They're really not in good shape, So, I mean, I've been very fortunate and blessed with, I'm able to play in MORTA SKULD. I'm able to do this type of material at the age that I'm at.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I mean, it's tough for me, man. I mean, I tell kids this all the time when I'm working with them. They're like, hey, why don't you just go ahead and call in sick if you want to go ahead and do this? And I'm like, you don't understand. When I was your age, I would use sick days to go to concerts and then recuperate the next day or go out and party, the day of and everything. So I would call in sick for that. Now at this age, I have to use those sick days because my bones are hurting or because I'm actually sick. I can't use them for extracurricular stuff anymore. So, getting old sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you got to take care of yourself, You got to do some different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I always tell, I see, some of the band guys I know too, I go work out. I work out, maybe not like a Lou Ferrigno or anything like that. But I mean, I work out, I go, cardio, and just try to keep yourself in shape. Especially me being a vocalist too, I gotta keep that cardio going, so at least I got the lungs and the wind to do it.
Yeah.
I when we were in the studio recording the new album, I had actually gotten sick really bad.
Oh man.
And it was upper respiratory, so it was really bad. And
it
messed my throat up to the point where I couldn't sing.
And
I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on. And I went in, I did like 2 songs, and they were like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then by the 3rd time, they're like, dude, what happened?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, dude,
and
kind of messed myself up a little bit. It took me a little bit of time to recoup, but it was a learning experience too. And what it really told me was, you know what, Dave? Just because you sing like this with this song at practice with your guitar you're not there. You know what I mean? It's kind of just a learning, like, well, it's a different feeling, but it's the same, but it's different.
Yeah.
You know, you sing differently when you hold your guitar. So when you're in the studio, you're not holding your guitar. So there was one song in particular on the album. I was like, can I hold my guitar while I sing? And I'm like, I really can't get the vocal line unless I'm actually, like, I think I'm playing.
Yeah.
So, you know, you try to separate it, and that becomes hard too. But,
yeah.
It was definitely a learning experience, you know, nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah. I feel you on that, man. I feel you on that. Well, Dave, thank you so much for a killer interview, man. I mean, like I said, it totally means the world to me and everything. I mean, I think you guys are an excellent representation of what death metal should be and should continue to be. So I just really want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me, man.
Well, I thank you so much as well. I really appreciate you. I got your Facebook page, got the link up on our on MORTA SKULD page.
No, you're shitting me. No way.
Yeah, I did it earlier. So,
dude, that's badass.
Those links should be up there, dude. I just told them, hey, we're going to be chatting tonight, so hopefully some people reach out to you, listen to this. And again, I appreciate you. I appreciate them, too. So we're hoping this is a good year, or hoping at least next year gets better. You know, we kind of started dabbling in stuff for the next album. Which I didn't think we were going to go there. I thought this was going to be it. You know, we're getting older. Or I'm getting older. And some of the other guys are young. AJ is like, 27?
Mm-hmm.
Eric's like, 33? So, I mean, you know, those guys are still young, you know. But
yeah.
They want to write new stuff. So we are in the process of writing a new album. Blood of My Enemies is what it's called. So,
nice.
we got a concept, and we're ready to rock. We just got to get past a few shows here, and then we're going to start writing for that. So hopefully, maybe in the next year or so, we'll have a new album out for everybody.
Dude, that's so badass, man. I'm so glad that, you know, I actually took that trip down to the record store, you know, that day, because, you know, it's just, it's turned out to just another killer band that I've been exposed to, man, and I'm so glad that I actually did it that day, you know.
Awesome. I appreciate you so much.
All right. Well, this is Mark with the Dark United Front, and I'm signing off now. And horns up, motherfuckers.
Cheers.
All right. Hey, Dave, that was such a killer interview, man. I really, really, really appreciate it, man. You kicked ass, bro. No, I mean it was that I've done 6 interviews so far. You did a really kick-ass job, man. I can't thank you enough. Hey, thanks, man. I'll tell you, bro. It's I just started this about probably about a month and a half ago. I reached out to Don Doty from Eliminate and Dark Angel, and I was like, "Fuck, man, I'm interested in knowing what this dude is doing." And he was nice enough to respond, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of like this. And then I tried to get I got a hold of James Murphy. I've talked to Eric Wagner from Trouble and the Skull, and then Rob Urbanati from Sacrifice, and then Pat Landa a few days ago, and then you were nice enough to do it. Yeah, man, I've been a fan of metal since 1982, man, since the very first time I heard Judas Priest. Yeah. Yeah. Dude. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, seriously. Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice. Oh, nice. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Cool. Nice. Do you want to hear a funny surface story, dude? I went over to, again to the local CD store, and I was like, "MORTA SKULD, I'm trying to find more stuff," and I found a used copy, what I thought was a used copy of Surface, and I go ahead and I buy it, and I come home, and it's some, I don't know, punk wannabe metal band that they had actually, they never checked the CD out when they bought it back from the customer. So I get home thinking that I'm going to have a copy of Surface, and I'm all set to go ahead and rip it over to my computer, and it's some other band that I'd never heard of, and I'm like, they're like, "Oh, we're really sorry," and I'm like, "You don't understand. I can't. This was like finding a, a hidden gem, in a pile of crap, because I can't find anything that I want right now, and I almost left without buying anything, and then I saw, yeah." I do not have Surface. I have been trying to find it. Okay. 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 Awesome. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay. I actually don't have the Dying Remains is the only one I actually have on that I actually only have on CD. All the other ones I've been trying to find, and I'm like, God, dude, they want a king's ransom for these. Yeah, yeah. I want it in my hands. Yeah. Uh huh. Okay. Oh, hey, cool, man. Okay, cool. Oh, awesome, awesome. No, man, it just the thought of doing. I mean, just you, dude. I mean, you have. I mean, you guys putting up my page on your guys' site, dude. That's unbelievable. And I'll tell you something, dude. I haven't really said too much about it. I have a bro out in Northern California. We are actually getting our own metal website up and everything. And so then there's going to be a link between the Facebook page and the website that we're coming up with. And so eventually, our website, as soon as we get it up and running and everything, we're gonna try to. I told him, I was like, bro, this needs to be a legit site. We're not gonna half-ass it. We're gonna make sure it's up and running right, and looking the correct way. And so we're gonna visit, not only Blabbermouth, but Encyclopedia Metallum, Metal Rules, Metal. Yeah, all those sites and everything, and we're gonna go ahead and this shit's gonna be legitimate because when we go live, we want people to see that we're not fucking around. We are actually, we are trying to get into the scene and we are serious about it. And so he's concentrating on the website, and I'm like, he's like, oh, well, I'm doing this, and this, and this, and I'm like, well, bro, keep doing what you're doing. Do all the technical stuff and everything. I'm gonna go ahead and get the content, man. And we are going to try to get into this, man, because we have been fans for a long time. We need to actually become part of the scene, And so yeah, I actually mock interviewed him last night. He was the interview subject, so I asked him the questions, and and he gave me a mock response and everything. So we're actually, I know it came across as me kind of being unorganized with some of the questions and stuff, but yeah, we're trying to be really professional with this and treat it as a professional gig, even if it's not, Hello? Hey, Dave. Oh, okay. No, I was just saying, we're trying to treat this as a professional gig, even though we're not getting paid for it or anything. We're trying to treat this as. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, dude, no. Seriously, the honor's all mine, man. I was just thinking, I was like, okay, I need to not only find interviews, but I need to go ahead and find bands that I like because I'm just not going to, interview somebody if I'm not really a fan of their music and everything. So, I'm just glad you had your phone on, man. I was glad that, totally glad that you responded and everything. I was talking to my bro last night, and I was like, dude, this dude is serious, man. I told him I would go ahead and get the questions to him, by this time and everything like that. And when I sent them to him, he responded within probably less than 5 seconds and everything. So this dude is a serious musician. So let's get this down. You know what I mean? Well, dude, Dave, it has been an honor and everything, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to do it. And dude, it's just fucking killer to talk to such a cool guy, in the music industry, especially one that I've been a fan of for so many years. Yeah, man, dude, thank you so much, man. I mean, I'm very blown away. I posted something up on Facebook the other day. I said, you know what? Anybody who thinks that bands or artists and or, radio personalities don't give a shit about their fans has never reached out to anybody in the heavy metal industry. And I know there's gonna be a time when somebody's gonna say, "Who the hell are you? No, we're not interested," and that's cool. Fine. Hey, best of luck. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next one and everything. Everybody that I have come across that has been responded has been really, really cool, and you are definitely one of the coolest ones, man. I can't tell you that enough, bro. All right. Hey, really quick. I'm actually a Giants fan, man. You a Packers fan? Well, I really don't expect the Giants to be doing that much this year. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the pack right now? That sounds like the Giants. Yeah. 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 Nice. Nice. Hey, man. And I gotta tell you a funny Giants Packers story. There's a lot of Wisconsin people that live here. Part of the year. Oh yeah, in this area of Arizona. Oh yeah, fully, man. I'd say half of the area that I live in is from Wisconsin. But I was actually working out one day with a Packers fan. He came walking in, an older gentleman. And he saw me wearing my Giants hat, and the Giants had just lost to the Packers like a few days before, and I'm like, here it comes. Yeah, and he's like, oh, yeah, you're a Giants fan. Oh, well, you know who you just played? Yeah, I know who we just played. And I'm like, all right, be cool, be cool. Hey, he's an older gentleman, be cool. And he just kept going and going and going, and then I'm like, you know what, F it, I gotta say something. So he's like, so I'm like, oh, so I take it you're probably a Brett Favre fan. He's like, oh, yeah, I love Brett Favre. And I'm like, yeah, he was a damn good quarterback. And I said, but then you also have to realize that he, did a lot of bonehead mistakes, and threw interceptions at the most crucial times, like he did against the Giants in the NFC Championship game. So that was my one chance to go ahead and get a dig in or whatever. And he's like, oh, yeah, you got to go ahead and bring that up. And I'm like, it's the only thing I can bring up because the Giants suck right now. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, man. No, I'm a huge huge football fan. I grew up actually rooting for the Raiders, but because of Al Davis driving the team into the ground, I was like, you know what? I can't see the team that I grew up, supporting all these years. I can't bear to see it driven into the ground. So I'm jumping ship. So I actually jumped ship a few years ago. Of course, I still root for them because it's always going to be part of my DNA. But the fact that they can't commit to Oakland also plays a big part of it. So I always root for them from afar. But it's like now my frustrations are listening to Giants football on the radio. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I think Rodgers is. I mean, seriously, in the top two or three quarterbacks in the NFL. Not only a very smart quarterback, but also extremely athletic. And it's one of those things, man. You do not want him running with the ball because he will get that first down. He's not afraid to go ahead and go for the first down, and he actually has the physical skills to go ahead and get it. And he can throw the deep ball and he's smart, so he's a quarterback that you guys do not ever want to let go. That's for sure. But yeah, but I'm an Eli fan. Despite him pulling some bonehead interceptions, I think a lot of the time his receivers have something to do with it, and I like the fact that he takes the blame, even though it's not his fault. I like the fact that he will still take the blame. So, but yeah, I don't expect the Giants to be doing much, and I'm pretty much safe to say I think Green Bay will double up on the points on them this week. You know what I mean? Hey man, well, anytime the Packers are good is still good for the NFL, man. So, best of luck to your squad and everything like that, man. And again, Dave, you're one of the coolest dudes in the industry that I've had the privilege to talk to, man. And I thank you so much, man. And hopefully we'll talk again soon, man. Hey, and thanks again for your time in the Marines, man. Like I said, I got my family. There's a lot of military in my family, and you taking the time to go ahead and serve our country. I truthfully, no BS, no nothing, man. Thank you so much for your service. All right, you take care, man, and go out and kick ass, bro. All right, later, Dave.